Hello and welcome to a Tachiai Quick Hit. We're in between tournaments and I've gathered Josh and Andy together to talk about some of the sumo news because it has been a tumultuous period. We've had a lot of really neat, interesting stuff and it's time to share it with the fans. I think first and foremost, the biggest story we can talk about right now is, I've been writing about this on the blog and calling it this, perhaps the greatest comeback in sports history. Frankly, I'm amazed it has not gotten more coverage because you just don't hear about something like this. So Terunofuji had ascended to sumo's second highest rank, Ozeki, pretty early in his career. He was a terrifying figure. He's this massive guy. He used a lot of strength, a lot of energy, and he could take down anyone on a given day. And he got sick, and then he got injured, and he fell all the way down to Jonidan and battled his way back up after being absent for almost a year. And he crowned off his return to Ozeki, which is rare in the world of sumo and has never happened from someone who fell this far down the Banzuke. He crowned it off with his third Yusho, his second since returning to the top division. The guy is freaking amazing. The last two tournaments before he took the Yusho, he took the Jun Yusho, the runner-up position. So he's been on an absolute tear. I don't know what to say that I don't know what to say to be superlative enough of Terunofuji's effort, his focus, and his drive. And I think it's amazing that this story is associated with sumo. But Josh, what are your thoughts on the whole matter?
I think it's one of those wins and one of those triumphs that was kind of willed into being. Before the tournament, Bruce, we did this podcast and we both obviously agreed that he was the favorite for the tournament. Yep. But it was actually the result that I wanted. And I said, more than anything, I hope that he can win. And sumo has this way, as for those of us who have followed it for a while now, of not really always delivering what you hope for, especially lately. And sometimes it delivers way more than you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
When you look at the injuries that people have and the decline of certain stars and scandals and injury, whatever, this is a really good example of a time when sumo goes above and beyond maybe what you can expect coming into a tournament, and all the emotions and the feelings that kind of come with a victory like this are incredible. And I think, as you say, people talk about, outside of our circle, people talk about Terunofuji's story as one of the greatest sumo stories of the last few years. But I think the trouble is, a lot of people don't properly regard sumo outside of Japan as a sport. And obviously Andy's made some comments that support that on the site this week as well. Because if you did regard it properly as a sport, you'd see it for what it is, which is one of the greatest sporting stories of our time, period.
I really think that the only thing to add on to that is that the only thing that would make it better would be if he actually got a rope down the road. I mean, if he came back and actually became Yokozuna, that would be the only thing that could make it more monumental. But I gotta say, this has been an incredible month for Terunofuji. And I mean, I'm, aside from being, very excited for him, obviously there are two big questions out there. Number one, will he end up getting that rope? And then number two, given those injuries, how long does he have left?
Right. So, I mean, fans must have noticed how heavily bandaged and mechanized his knees have become. He's basically grafted Uncle Sumo's old equipment directly onto his knees. And it seems to have worked a treat, but those things come with an expiration date, and it's he's going to have a tough time. But I can't say enough about how he's put everything into getting back into Ozeki, and frankly, I'd agree with you, Andy. At this rate, if he can stay where he is performance-wise, he's the strongest man on the dojo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see many people up there right now who would be able to, who are especially among the Ozekis, who would be able to do two in a row. But I was going back through the stats, and I didn't even realize that it was so long ago when he won that first Yusho. It was in 2015.
Yeah.
And just to kind of put that into my own mindset, Ura won the Jonokuchi Yusho, that tournament. I mean, that's how long ago we're talking. And I mean, well, we're also talking about somebody else who's had some knee issues as well there. And I'm very, I guess, cautiously optimistic about both gentlemen, and I hope that they're around for a good couple years longer. I mean, it'll be pretty exciting. I guess my biggest hope is that his Terunofuji's second reign in the Ozeki rank will not be as up and down as the first one, where he was just pretty much constantly battling, like you said, sickness, illness, and injury. Karaban, it was not a strong reign there.
Yeah, he wasn't a strong Ozeki.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to get some consistency out of one of the four at Ozeki now, and ideally maybe from the fifth.
So Josh, what do you think about the expiration date on Terunofuji's knees? Do you think he can hold it together long enough to make a dent?
I think the interesting thing is you have to look at why and how he's been able to come back. You look at how and why he went down to the 5th division to begin with. It's not like, he was simply, just past his expiration date and he fell down to the 5th division. That's not the case here. This is someone with an incredible physical ability whose body let him down in more ways than one. Obviously, the physical issues with his knees. He obviously had other medical issues. And he had, a bad form as a result of those problems. And the Terunofuji that we saw before the comeback didn't look like he could win another match, never mind a tournament. And so when you look at how and the work that he was able to put in with the folks in his stable and stable master, and a lot of that was physical, a lot of that was obviously mental when you look at, some of the conversations that the two of them spoken about having. But you question not just how he's been able to get to the top division, but how he's been able to win. And he's been able to win in spite of the situation with his knees, and because he's been able to create a new style, a new way of winning matches that is different from, his first kind of ascendance to Ozeki. And I think to kind of speak to Andy's point, when you talk about, wanting to have someone who's up there, who's a good Ozeki, who's able to win matches consistently, and who's able to understand maybe a bit more his body and the limitations of that and how he needs to use what he has to win, I'm definitely hopeful that he can put together a little bit more consistency. And I think maybe the signal of that is not the U shows, it's not the June U show, but I actually think back to when he had the Basho, maybe 3-4 Basho ago, where he gets up to Magashira 1 and he gets his 8 wins and something's not right with his body and he pulls out of the tournament.
Yeah, that showed excellent maturity.
I think that's the indication that, when you've accomplished what you need to accomplish for that tournament, if we're not going to U-show here, then let's cut our losses and let's fix our body and let's go to the next tournament. And I think if he can keep that approach going, then he can continue to prolong his career. But, I think he himself said, I know his stable master said the knees are a ticking time bomb. So, he's got to, at the same time, get what he came for.
Yep. So one of the big curiosities I have is that the current crop of Ozeki have been hit or miss. I mean, Asanoyama ascended on some really excellent form that it seems a lot of the top division have now at least marginally decoded and found ways to frustrate him or shut him down. Is Terunofuji's excellent sumo and his consistent good performance and winning record, is it going to motivate the other Ozeki to buckle down and elevate their sumo? I don't know, Josh, why don't you take that first?
It's hard for me to say that. I think, you don't want to give the opinion that it sounds like these guys are lacking motivation, anyway, because you take a Taka Keisho, he's obviously someone who's motivated to take the next step in his career. Asanoyama, we've all been kind of sitting here talking about he's ready to go on that rope run anytime now, but as you say, people have kind of figured him out. Shodai, tremendous amount of strength that he's gained. He has incredible ability. He's always had incredible ability, but he seems mentally a little surprised himself that he's at this rank right now. The way that Sumo has panned out over the course of the last year, you're looking at, we could see a situation where there's another 1 or 2 Ozeki by this time next year. You got a couple guys in there who look like they could take the step up to that level. It's just been, people get up to that level and they either get figured out or they lack that killer instinct that true champions have, or they haven't been able to have the physical ability to keep it going for the amount of tournaments that you need to do in a row, which is 2. But, that all said, there's always a motivation, I think, for these guys to knock off whoever the guy is on top. Right now, it feels like that's Terunofuji in the absence of any real Yokozuna. And so it'll be interesting. You go look back 4 or 5 years, I think, when this current generation of Rikishi that's just kind of winding down, really in full flow and in their peak. And we had that period of the 4 Ozeki, Goeido, Terunofuji, Kiseno Sato, Koto Shogiku. There were talk of all of those guys potentially going on to become Yokozuna at one time or another. A lot of people laugh, haha, Goeido, he's always Kadoban, all this kind of stuff. But, at his best, it was just like, well, of course he could become Yokozuna. He gets his 15-0. But he was frustrating. Each of these guys had the ability to take that next step. Now we're entering another period of, 4 really, really talented, very different style Ozeki. And it'll be interesting to see if any of them can do it.
Andy, you get the last word.
It could motivate Takayasu. Being able to see that rise. The only thing that I'm worried about there is the way that he fell there or stumbled at the end with that Yusho run. He still may have done enough to really kick off an Ozeki run.
Yeah.
We're looking at 10 wins on a Komusubi. He's probably going to be Sekiwake in May with no Yokozuna, likely completing a tournament for the foreseeable future. So there is definitely a lot of opportunity there. And he, I think, is one that could, take that extra motivation that you've seen among several of those former Ozeki who are trying to get back up there. Takayasu might be the one who can actually do it, but I would like to also see Mitake Yumi really push for it. I was thinking that he might be able to start up this last tournament, but there seemed to be a little something not 100% with his ankle or knee or something, and so I'm hopeful that they will be able to kind of take that on, that extra motivation, and kind of see the opportunities there, because Kakuryu's retirement frees up an extra slot, and so there will be more, competition. There won't be easy Kimboshi anytime soon. So.
Okay, well, I think that's a good place to end off. Sumo fans, thank you very much for joining us for this Tachiai news update on Terunofuji. We're looking forward to the May tournament, which is only about 4 weeks away now. So thank you very much, all, and remember, for Sumo, it's Tachiai.